Tuesday afternoon with my good friend. I always like it when I get to do these podcasts with an actual good friend, and I can say that with you, my friend, AJ Hawk. Welcome to the Onnit Podcast, sir.
Good to be here, Aubrey. Excited to be on the Onnit podcast, even though I know this is going live over YouTube. I can't see either of you guys, so this is kind of weird for me.
Yeah, we like that, though. We like this kind of peeping Tom relationship that we cultivate on our podcast here.
Yeah.
Now, for people watching, they might be noticing your fantastic haircut, if they haven't seen that. Why don't you give us a little profile? I was admiring it earlier.
You see this side cut right here. I did this specifically for the Onnit podcast and for Aubrey.
Yeah, very solid. You went from full-on lion's mane to then, very clean cut, and now you're back in that kind of rebellious, rockabilly, Jesse James kind of zone.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. I came back here to Green Bay after our offseason, and I had this cut, and people are just laughing at me and wondering what I'm thinking. And
it's almost like Macklemore.
Oh, gosh.
You're like the jacked, athletic, pro athlete Macklemore version.
I don't know if there is a version of that, but I joked about with people actually publicly on an interview that I said, I don't know, I just get bored and decide to just cut my hair in different styles. And I said, a lot of times, like, a guy gets older and he trades his wife in for a younger, better model. And so for me, I said, I'm trying to make sure my wife doesn't trade me in for a younger, better model because I'm getting older, man. So I just got to change this stuff up. And
I like it.
I said before, I got to wear skinny jeans and everything's weird now.
There is not a skinny jean that could fit you on the whole fucking planet. You make normal jeans, you make like loose fit jeans, skinny jeans, just by your leg size.
I'm trying, man.
Oh, that's pretty funny. So, what's been going on, man? You got off season right now. You're training. You're staying in shape. I know you're the kind of guy that, you see some of these fighters, and even my friend like Bodie, when it's not time to ski, he's out of shape as fuck. But you're one of those guys that are constantly working, staying in shape, keeping your body in top condition. So I imagine that's a little bit of what's going on right now.
Of course, yeah. We started our off-season stuff up here in Green Bay officially a couple of weeks ago. So we just work out and meet and walk through and stuff as a team right now. So, once the season's over, I never really stop. I feel like I can kind of tailor it to how I'm feeling and the kind of bruises and stuff I've had from the season. But yeah, I don't see any reason to ever stop. It just works for me. I enjoy working out. It's fun for me. I got some little bit of land back in Ohio, so this off season was fun. I need to get you down there, Aubrey. Up there from where you are in Austin, but have got about 9 acres, and honestly, I have a tree line. It's tree line on 3 sides, and I just go drag dead trees out of the tree line and just chop them with my axe and my hatchet, and then I'll just chop one, put it on my shoulder, and start lunging like Rocky Balboa. Just run around the yard. I have two big dogs. So it gets crazy back there.
That's full-on George Foreman training style with the axe and the chopping logs. It's definitely something to be said with that. I mean, we approximate that with our mace and stuff, but there's really something satisfying about seeing the wood chips fly when you're actually.
I burn it. And honestly, I use it for my family. I'm pit. I make fires at night, and both my little kids and my wife love it. So it comes full circle.
That's it. There is something particularly satisfying about burning a log that you cut, just as there is something really satisfying about going to your own garden, procuring some food, going out and hunting and consciously acquiring your own meat and butchering it and cooking it. I think it harks back to some primal nature that we have inside ourselves that feels really fucking good.
I agree with you, man, and it's awesome talking to you. It's been a little while since I've talked to you, so it's fun to get back and hear you speak. It only probably takes 30 to 45 seconds for something to hit your mind, and you reference your primal roots and your chimp DNA, or however you say it, and how you figured this out when you were in the jungles with these shamans for 14 days straight, starving yourself. So you're one of my you're actually, yes, you are my only friend I know that goes over to the jungle and really does some good work over there. So I appreciate you.
I'm waiting to bring you down there, AJ. When are we gonna go? We're gonna wait till your football season is done, or what?
I'm not tough like you guys, man.
Whatever, man.
I read these eloquent blogs and different things you write about, and all it does is sit there. It just scares me to death.
It's funny that, you know, what you do in one of the most violent sports in the world and what you have to put yourself through in training. You know, it's funny that you would even, I know you're halfway kidding, but it is kind of a little bit of a scary thing to go and do the psychedelics. Whereas for me, the thought of, you know, doing what you have to do is like, oh, fuck, why would I have to do that? And the thought of going to the jungle is like, oh, yeah, this will be fun. I'll just cross over and maybe die and get reborn and, you know, just some of that usual kind of stuff. At least I don't have to run into a 260-pound man trying to hurt me, you know?
Well, that's just an everyday week in the life of Aubrey, I guess. Just figuring if you're gonna hop on a plane and fly 19 hours to go meet your maker and die and be reborn and die and be reborn and then get another tattoo about it.
You got the whole program, man. It's easy. It's like a formula. It's like algebra over here.
Aubrey, I'm joking about the tattoo. I did not mean to offend you.
I like it, AJ. Yeah.
Tattoos are amazing.
The only thing you needed to add in there was a potential name change, you know, and then you got the full. Then you got the full spectrum of exactly how that program works.
How did I forget that? You know what? Oh, for real, Aubrey, are you going to write a book? I was thinking that the other day.
Yeah, I'm going to write a book.
Okay, good. That's all. That's all I need to know. You got to write a book, man, because I'm going to read it.
Well, there's a multi-pronged strategy for that. First, I'm writing a book that's not related to any of that, and that's going to be awesome. But then eventually we're doing a lot of documentaries about all those experiences, and we're going to go that way first in that medium, and then – but I'm keeping a pretty detailed memoirs. This last one I got like 14 pages of text and then a bunch of photos and stuff too. So like 7,000 words.
Cool.
So crazy experience. But we'll get you down there, man. And I'll remember that little joke you made, and I'll make sure they give you the extra strong juice. The extra strong jungle juice out there, AJ. Something that'll...
I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight, man, because I know you've probably already seen the way I die in one of those trips. Stuff. I'm screwed, man.
I've seen the way that you drink vodka when you're actually partying, and so I know that I'm going to tell the shaman, I'm like, listen, he's more like a handle of vodka kind of guy. You know what I mean? Gosh. So if we're doing ayahuasca, you're drinking like several cups, 4, 5, 6. I mean, we're pushing the upper threshold, you know, especially with your alpha brain usage. You know, you're in that kind of 5-pill range, which is insane. So I'm thinking, you know, they really got to stretch it. Bring out the gallon jug. Bring out the big gulp of Wachuma, and see how that works out for you.
No. I heard all of that, and I respectfully decline at this moment.
All right. Well, we'll revisit that at another point in time. So, talk to us about some football, man. You had a really good season last year, and how you feeling? How you feeling about what's been going on? I know you had some contract issues that came up. That was kind of a bummer, probably. I haven't actually even talked to you about that. But you played fucking great, and it seems like you're feeling great. And so talk us through a little bit of the football side.
Well, I just finished my 8th season last year, and I tell people, and they, you know, people have asked me, you know, how do you feel? You know, I turned 30 as well as soon as the season was over in January, and I feel awesome. I'm serious. I say physically and mentally, I feel as good as I've ever felt. And I think it's just a process of learning how to take care of myself, you know, mainly physically, because that's what on the field, you know, and every week in practice I'm hitting, you know. So I've been hitting 30 years old. I started playing when I was like 6 years old. So that's a lot of years of pounding on your body. So I also played basketball and baseball growing up my whole life too. So I've always been into sports, but I feel now like I'm hoping I can play for a really long time. I'm always preparing for what I'm going to do when I am done. But right now, I'm not. I don't plan on quitting anytime soon. I always say I'll play for anybody that wants to give me a contract. I have 2 years left on my deal with the Packers, and hopefully I can at least play that out, and then we'll go from there. I'd love to stay here my whole career if possible. It's just it's a really special place. I restructured my contract last off season, I guess it was, which all it means is it's a fancy word for a way to say you took a pay cut. So I was like, I don't care. It doesn't hurt my ego to say I took a pay cut. I don't care. I'm still on the team. But
well, not only that, you were leading the team in tackles, and were you leading the league in tackles at one point too? I mean, you were really up there in what you were doing.
I don't know about the league, but yeah, maybe the team.
So you're not really into that kind of stats. You're not that kind of stats kind of guy. You don't look at the back of your own cards. You're not buying Upper Deck and kind of checking all that stuff out, huh?
No, that's just not. It's not really how I was brought up. I would guess. Youngest of three boys, getting beat up my whole life. So if I ever wanted to think that I was good or I was cool, I got pounded. So that's something that I didn't never really crossed my mind. But I just choose to not get caught up in that world. My dad told me when I was young. I didn't understand it at the time, but he always said, don't ever get too excited about someone that says something good about you, and don't ever get upset about someone that says something bad about you, because either way it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, whatever, and I was so young and stupid and just a meathead, and I was like, all right, whatever. And then as I got older and older, I really understood that comment, and that sticks with me too. I was like, if someone wants to like email me, I'll get like a text from somebody. They'll say, oh, hey man, great write-up in whatever, some paper. I was like, sorry, thanks, man. I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't care. Like, oh, I'll send you the link. I'm like, no, I will delete your text. It's not like, it's just not, I don't feel like it's something that I need to drive me, one way or the other, good or bad. A lot of guys are driven by the negative type stuff, and I'm definitely not. I don't feel like I should have to rely on anything outside of myself to motivate me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a key thing. I think that's another good piece of advice I've gotten, not from my parents, but from some key friends and people like yourself. And that's really, at the end of the day, you are the only person who's qualified to judge yourself. Only you really know how much effort you put out, what you've sacrificed, how you've performed, how you've done. Everybody else is just an approximation of that, whether good or bad, whether they're pumping your tires or whether they're talking shit. They are not nearly as qualified to give a judgment as you yourself are, and so at the end of the day, all of that chitter chatter is kind of bullshit, and you just got to rely on knowing whether you left it out there and whether you gave the kind of sacrifice and performance that you wanted to try to give. And then of course, whether you did or didn't, then you have to decide to work harder or forgive yourself or move on and kind of stay in the present. But it's kind of you can get wrapped up in what everybody else is thinking, what everybody else is saying, and that's only going to drag you down a bad hole, at the end of the day, it seems like to me.
Believe me, I mean, everyone's probably heard someone say that, and I tell people, I was like, you know what, it's really simple, but it's not easy to do. It's just like working hard or being consistent with what you do. It's pretty easy to work hard when you feel good, that's how it's always like our first day of like training camp. It's so funny to me because I've had a lot of those days, going on my 9th season here in the league and then all through college, high school. The first day when we put those pads on, there's just something crazy going on in the locker room beforehand. Everyone's just going nuts, running around, dancing, yelling, going crazy. And I just sit back and I just stay calm and I just think about it in the locker room, like, all right, buddy, give me a call in about 4 days and let me know how you feel. And that's kind of how it always, and it's not even 4 days. It's usually about 3 hours. At the end of that first practice, guys are burning out quick, and you're done and cramping. And it's not that I feel like I pace myself. I never do that. I don't know how to pace myself. I'm not saying do that, but I would say just kind of stay at like a steady incline at all times, whatever you do, and don't ever get on that roller coaster. I say that like just any job, let alone a job in the public and the NFL, trust me, there's going to be a lot of bad things that happen through the course of one game, one practice, anything. And if I choose to get on that roller coaster and let each little snap, each little thing affect me, man, you'd be so stressed out. You'd be so tired by the end of the day. I wouldn't be able to father my children.
Yeah. You see that in fighters too. I mean, I noticed certainly that in the greatest champions, as they walk out, they're just really calm and alive, and you see it in their eyes, but they're not going crazy and punching themselves in the head and yelling and all of that nonsense. The more nonsense they bring into the cage, generally, the quicker they get their ass kicked, whereas like the really good champions, keep that kind of even keel. And I think you're right. That's important for all performance, and not only on the excitement side, but on the stress side too. Because if you let things really stress you out and get you into that angry, closed off kind of defensive hole, you're not going to see the opportunities that present themselves in anything: business, friendship, relationships, love, sports. It all works together. It's all a big analogy, and that's the beauty of sports. It's an analogy for the rest of your life because you get to put it into practice.
Yeah, and I think you have to think of it that way, that whatever you're doing on the field or on the court, whatever you're playing, I know you're a big basketball guy, Aubrey. Don't think I don't know that. But I know if what I try to approach, even how I approach every day at football or workouts or meetings or walkthrough, and I want to get everything right. I want to be super consistent. I want my teammates to be able to count on me. That's the number one thing. I want them to know that I'm going to be ready and I'll always be doing my job and I'll be there to help if they need me. I try to approach football. Whatever I'm doing on football, I try to be a better person and a better dad, a better husband, whatever. But that makes me a better football player, I think, in a weird way. And I'm not smart enough like you are to be able to put that into the English language. But I feel like whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm searching, and I'm sitting here reading weird books at 1 a.m. when I can't sleep, I feel like that's making me a better football player, because if I'm doing it just because I'm a curious dude, but I want to learn, I want to get better. I feel like it's weird how it all kind of meshes together somehow. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I sound like an idiot because I am, but I just don't know how to explain that. I would say I need you to be like a ghostwriter for me.
Well, you're describing something that can be summed up in Musashi's famous quote, know the way broadly and you'll see it in all things. The way that you apply yourself to learning, growing, self-improvement, that same application off the field is going to translate to on the field, just as the same way you apply on the field will apply to your off the field endeavors. People try to look at things in, too narrow focus. And if you know the way broadly, which is to open your mind, be willing to accept new information, apply yourself even when you're fatigued or when you're on fire. And if you know that way and you do it through everything, it's all just going to support itself. It makes perfect sense. I think you're really tapped into something there.
I don't know. I'm trying. I think it's good to have, I've said this before, but it's funny to me. I feel like over the years, I never even noticed it until my wife started telling me, but she's always like, I'll tell her like what I'm doing or who I'm going to hang out with or whatever. And she's like, really? You are the weirdest dude I've ever met. She's like, do you have any, like, my range of friends I have are so weird. And the people I hang out with, like, it ranges from, like, I don't know, 20 years old to, like, 75 of people that I hang out with, I legit are, like, friends with. It's just weird, like, and I think that helps because it brings a real different type of, like, atmosphere and diversity. No matter whoever I'm with, I feel like I get to learn from different people, and that's just one of the things I've noticed. I've just been more aware, I think, as I get older. And I love it, man. It's a lot of fun because I would never want to hang out with 10 people like myself. That'd be the boringest day ever, So and
a lot of people do that.
That helps me a lot.
A lot of people do that. You find people that are very close to you, and then the group itself even has homogenizing pressure within the group. So people who are close to you to begin with become almost exactly like you, after you hang out with them. And yeah, seeking that diversity is super important. I was just out in the jungle with literally Gandalf the White Wizard, and that was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And he's, what I learned from him, it's this 68-year-old wizard who's been down in the jungle serving plant medicine for 50 years, is incredible, and I wouldn't trade that experience for any kind of, other type of individual. So there's so much to learn from everybody if you just allow that information and that knowledge to come through. Even people who aren't intending to teach you, people who are, doing things, teaching you what not to do or what not to be. If you're able to just relax, not get angry, and take everything as a lesson, like, oh, what is that person teaching me? Teaching me how this emotion can take you down this current. You can learn something from pretty much every encounter that you have if you take that attitude.
Yeah, I have never had the pleasure to meet Gandalf the White Lizard. I don't even know.
The White Lizard. The White Lizard.
What? Is that his name?
The White Wizard.
The White what?
He's a wizard, not a lizard. You ever see Lord of the Rings, AJ? Jesus.
No, I don't watch that garbage, Aubrey. All I do is study football and bang my head off of concrete walls. You know that. Lizard, I don't care. I'm sticking with Lizard on this one.
To be fair, you probably saw a lizard at some point during that time.
I did. Yeah, there were lizards out there.
Yeah, I thought for sure.
Not Gandalf the White Lizard, though. It's a special lizard.
Yeah. See, the thing is, Aubrey, I don't know. With you, you never know. What
I could have seen Gandalf the White Lizard.
I don't even know what country were you in. I don't even know.
We were in Peru, in the lower Amazon near Quitos.
Yeah, why not?
Why
Just
not?
take a quick jaunt over there.
Fuck it. Yeah, for sure. I want to go back to something, though, that you touched on earlier, and I think it's kind of an interesting distinction. You were saying, we were talking very much about staying humble and not thinking of yourself as being too good and just kind of keeping that humility intact. Where do you, though, but there's a certain line where you have to have immense belief in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself and where you're going, you're not going to get there either. So there's this kind of fine balancing act between humility and belief in what you're going to go. Have you consciously ever kind of walked that, or is that something that just comes naturally, or what are your thoughts on that?
It's a great question. Yeah, I think as I've gotten older, I've definitely consciously thought about that. But I think if you're trying, the way I see it, if someone's trying to be humble or trying to become a more humble person, I think it's too late already. Right. Like, I don't know how you can redirect. It's always going to be back there for those people, whoever is not, have these crazy egos. I don't know if you can completely ever conquer that, or even, obviously you can work on it just like anything, but I don't think it's something that I think is kind of ingrained in you from a young age. And then regardless of whatever has happened to you throughout your life and how, some guys seem like they haven't had any adversity, like everything's been great. This is awesome. This guy, whatever, he just kind of cruised through high school, college, played in the league 15 years, Hall of Famer, like stuff like that. That seems like for some people it happens, but if you really get down to it, they have fought through a lot of adversity regardless. Mm-hmm. It might be on the field, it might be off the field, but it's not something that I think about on a daily basis. I don't sit there and be like, oh, well, I got to remember to say my prayers and be humble. Like, no, that doesn't mean anything. I think it's already too late. If I'm sitting there telling myself to be humble, no, that's stupid, I think. So I have to give credit to honestly, like I said earlier, my brothers, my two older brothers, my parents, all my awesome coaches I had. Those guys were killers.
Yeah.
Absolute killers. My linebacker coach, his head probably weighed 40 pounds, and he was the man, just big old.
What's an average head weigh? I don't know how much a head weighs. Is that a lot?
I don't know. I would say I have no idea how much an average head weighs, but whatever that is, double it.
Okay, got it.
And big, thick sideburns. Larry Knopfsinger, he's the man. He still comes to games up here in Green Bay every once in a while and yells at me afterwards. But he used to sit behind me when Saturday mornings when we would watch our high school film of the night before, and he would sit there with a big wooden clipboard, and I would know it's coming. If I had a bad play or he felt like I missed a tackle or I was loafing, he would just bam, blast me in the back of the head with his clipboard. And so I always knew, like, when a play was coming, I would just sit like this and bowl my neck like that, close my eyes, boom, and he would just hit me. And so I think it's good for people you need people like that. Obviously, there's a line that you don't want to cross and mess a kid up, but you'll hear comics talk about it a lot. Comics know they can never get too big because they always have those other comics checking them every single day of their life, and letting them know that, no, you're not the man, you're just one of us that came up on the working the club circuit like we still are,
Sure.
So I think as a player, as a businessman, whatever it is, you need those people checking you, and only the real losers hire yes men all around them. That's stupid. What's that going to do for you? You're not going to evolve, and you're not going to the person or the business you want.
Yep. I think the people who kind of handle that the best is, and like you said, trying to force humility upon yourself isn't the way to do it. I think the key is a realization that you are just a uniquely shaped tool that is able to do things if you apply yourself through that. But it's not, you don't take ownership of those things. It's just like a hammer that is formed isn't like, look at me, I'm really fucking good at hammering nails. It's like, no, well, of course, you're fucking hammer. That's what you were designed to do, and you're just doing what your purpose is, And I think even like Joe just talks about that a lot, and that's one of the things that you can realize is that you're just doing what you're designed to do and doing it in a way that you can't really take full responsibility for. Sure, you've applied yourself and done it, but it's not your thing. It's the universe or whatever other force going through you and allowing you to perform these things and keeping that in mind. But I also think there's a dangerous element that when people are so worried about being humble that they'll temper how much they believe in what is capable for themselves to do. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, I would never I'm going to be humble, so I'm not going to say that I could be CEO of a big company, because that's not a humble thing to think. I'm just this lowly guy. There's this balance between realizing that it's not me, and it's not because I'm so fucking awesome that I'm able to do this, but that our potential really is fairly limitless. And anything that we set our mind to, not anything maybe, but these key things on our path that we set our mind to, we're capable of achieving amazing things. So it's this combination of believing all 100% in what you're able to do, and then at the same time not taking full credit for it, so you don't let your head explode and become a real asshole from it.
Yeah, it's not even, I mean, I don't even know. It's stuff that everyone's heard before, I think, but it just goes in one ear, out the other. But I liked how you said if you don't take ownership of it, regardless of what it is, if you're, a guy like Tom Brady or whatever, it seems from the outside looking in, that dude has everything, like people look at him like, man, that guy, he's got it all, and he's been so successful so long because I think he's so competitive, he's so driven, and I think he's like one of those guys that probably has, I don't know him at all, but he probably has that perfect balance of like, you know what, I am the man. This is what I do, but that's in his mind, but he doesn't outwardly let people know, So, but he's driven that way that he is the man, he wants to be the man. And so I think all the great ones kind of are like that, regardless of what field you're in. And, I've heard people say all the time, I've never heard a real tough guy have to tell me he's tough. You just know by how he carries
right.
himself, how he walks. I've been lucky enough to hang out with Dan Henderson a little bit. Probably one of the toughest guys on the planet, in my opinion. And
I think that's a fact at this point.
I mean, yeah, with his last knockout, are you kidding me? Dan was dazed for like 10 straight minutes. And just, what was it? Was that Shogun? Was that who the fight was when he knocked him out? Oh,
yeah,
man.
that rematch. The
Dan
rematch with Shogun.
I was watching the fight, so nervous for Dan. And Dan was dazed for like 9 minutes. I mean, I don't know if it was a whole round or two.
How much of that fight did he remember?
Oh my gosh, none, probably. He probably didn't know anything. And so, all of a sudden he catches him, sends him doing backward rolls in the octagon, fight over. Dan's career is skyrocketed again, and he's fighting Cormier. But I've been lucky enough to hang out with Dan, and he's never once tried to tell me how tough he is or try to fight a guy or be like, oh, who's this guy over here in the skinny jeans? I don't like him. I'm gonna beat him up. No, he didn't care. He's a great dude that everyone likes being around. So I think that's kind of how it is. I've always kind of subscribed to that, or prescribed to that I don't need to let anybody know anything, but they know, like, I have a very high belief in myself, whatever I want to do, whatever that avenue may be. And I just know that I don't know anything. What's the quote? I know enough to know that I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I use that for everything. I teach my kids that. It's true. I don't know. I literally don't know anything. That's why I hang out with weirdos like you.
Exactly. I don't know anything either. And that's the fucking great thing. That's why I go to the jungle and try to learn some little tidbit of something. I try to approximate one half thing that I might know. And that's why I go down there. But what you're saying about fighting applies to everything. I mean, it applies to ping pong. I mean, I'm not a great ping pong player, but I'm good enough to beat most people. But I know that anybody who comes in is like, oh yeah, ping pong's my shit. I'm gonna roll you. I'm like, okay, whatever. I know that I'm gonna be able to get the frying pan out when I'm up, 15-6 and finish them off with kitchen utensils. I just know that person who's talking shit. Whereas the person's like, yeah, I play a little bit. I'm like, oh shit, I'm fucked now.
Yeah. Don't even play that guy, faking injury.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the type of people that are really good. The masters never have to talk about it, for sure. All right, I want to go back to one other thing you said too, and you said that everybody can show up and play and do their thing when you feel good, but when you don't feel good, pushing yourself to do that, that's a real challenge, especially if you're in some kind of situation where you don't have a coach, you don't have a trainer, you don't have anybody looking over to your shoulder, and it's just basically you and you trying to hold yourself to a standard when you really feel like shit. Maybe you're just off your game a little bit, you're a little bit down, you physically don't feel well. I know that you have those days, we all have those days. What are some of the things and the motivational techniques that you use to kind of get yourself fired up on those days where you're just not really feeling it?
Well, I think anybody that does anything that's passionate about life has those days for sure. Yeah, it happens. I mean, every morning I feel like when I'm waking up, like the second my alarm clock goes off in the morning, I literally, I remember in my mind, I feel like, are you kidding me? Like I can't be any more tired than I am at this exact moment. How am I even going to get up? But guess what? You get up and you're fine. Everything's great. But I don't know I don't sit there and like, everyone has their own method. I would never knock anybody's method, but I don't sit there and talk to myself or talk to myself in the third person. Come on, AJ, it's a big day. Oh, like that's not me. I'm never going to be that guy. I'd feel like a weirdo. But I think I just kind of unconsciously, I've prepared for that my whole life. I think those kind of days, like right now I'm up here by myself. It sucks. I'm used to have my wife and kids here, and I'm going to see them in a couple of days. But I'll be here, 1:32 in the morning. I won't be able to sleep, and I'm sitting here researching, just Googling YouTube videos of watching like Will Smith. I don't know if you've seen him. And regardless, I didn't even care about him as an actor or whatever that much. And Will Smith has some inspirational videos, man, like on YouTube. But he had a quote that stuck with me. He said, one of the reasons he's so successful is because he's not afraid to die on a treadmill. And he went on to explain that if him and another guy, say they're going for the same role or whatever, anything in life, get on a treadmill, Will said, I'm not coming off. I'm going to die on that treadmill before I get off that thing. And so it's just an analogy that whatever people want to use. And I don't go back to like one thing. I'm always just thinking of different things and almost like banking them. Whether I take notes on it, I take a lot of notes on just things like that, a quote like that, I put it in my phone. And I think I don't really have to like go back and look at stuff like that on a day where I would say I don't feel good or I'm playing a game and I've had a flu and had getting some IVs before the game or whatever because you're sick. I don't have to go back and look at those quotes, but I do all the time. And I read different stories or go back and reread a book. I love to go back over the poem by Tecumseh from the movie at the very end of Act of Valor. I don't know if you guys know that or not. Yep. I read that to my daughter every night when I put her to bed. And now she has, without me trying to get her to, she's memorized it and she reads it to me. And that was like the greatest moment of my life when she did that. And so things like that I think are kind of like, it's almost like I store them. I never thought about it until now, until you asked me that. But it's like it's always back there. And those things just kind of, I think it's almost like a natural deal that it just, those things are always back there. You always know about, I don't know, people that inspire you. It's usually people that inspire me. And you can never sit there and, it's like anything. How can we ever feel bad about ourselves? We've all won the lottery here, man. If you're born in America, we've won the lottery. So this is amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Just kind of storing up all the inspiration around you and using every tool that you have and then internalizing it so that you don't have to rely on one thing. Because if you rely too much overtly on one thing, that kind of tolerance will come into effect and it won't give you that same zing. But taking all that wisdom and the inspiration from everybody who's come before us and will come after us and then making that a part of you, I think that certainly sounds like a pretty good strategy to me.
Yeah, it's not something I've thought about, like you didn't think about it until you asked me. It's not, you don't have to sit there and like, okay, how anal would you have to be to, let me prepare for when I don't feel that good. Like, what am I going to read? I'm going to watch an episode of Fresh Prince. Like, no, you can't do that. That's not what I'm doing at all.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm doing. But yeah.
Although watching 300 when you don't feel good and you're trying to have a pity party, this is my challenge to anybody. Anybody who wants to have a pity party with themselves, go watch 300 and see if you can still continue that pity party. If you can, I don't know. I don't think I can help you. But if you can't, you're like a normal human being.
You're basically dead. It's like
yeah.
It's like watch the end of Act of Valor where that dude is at the funeral and the voiceover of them reading Tecumseh's poem and they're showing the wife reading the note and crying and his son. I'll tell you what, man. If you read that and don't cry, I don't want to be your friend. I don't know you. I find myself here solo watching that on YouTube and I'm like, I don't know why I do it to myself. Just struggling,
every time.
Man. So yeah, it's like I said, whatever. I would always encourage anybody to pursue anything that they are passionate about, if it's not gonna hurt them, But yeah, anything that you're passionate about, man. If you have some passion for it, you can take it all the way. And that's what I'm learning too, that I just, man, I'm kind of zeroing in on all the things around me that I really love to do and I really enjoy. And then when I do it, when I zero in on them, it's like it's a bad deal, because I just, that's all I know, like if I go in that mode, it's like I can't come out of it. I just want to devour everything on that topic or work my way towards getting to be that guy. And that's kind of how football's been my whole life.
That kind of the desire, that ravenous desire, that laser focus to achieve what you want. And there's a lot of people, speaking of that, I know that we wanted to chat with you quickly about the draft coming up. There's a lot of people who've been doing that, or on that precipice of achieving what for most people is one of their main lifelong dreams and going into the league. You were pretty highly recruited out of college, so it was kind of a foregone conclusion for you, but I'm sure you've had a lot of buddies that are on that curve. What kind of leads up to a situation like the NFL draft, where you've had had your college career and you're going into finally achieving your dream?
It's definitely a unique time for sure. When I played in college, a lot of guys now, they tell me, when my buddies that I play with that are already in the league, they'll tell me like, yeah, I went to college to get to the league. That's why I went. I wanted to get drafted. And I was so young and naive and just whatever. Playing at Ohio State, to me, being an Ohio kid, was like, that was it. That's all, whatever. The league, sounded amazing, but that was almost like a fantasy. Like, that doesn't happen to people I know. No one I know goes to the NFL. So that wasn't even on my mind. So when I was finishing up, throughout my senior year, so I just, I wanted to win the rest of my games. But then as soon as the season ended, I stayed in school actually the whole time. A lot of guys drop out and go work out at these so-called guru academies. I stayed and worked out and at everything at Ohio State. And then leading up to the draft, I don't know what I was thinking, man. Like I was so young. I'm almost glad that I didn't know more about it. I didn't get into it. I just kind of figured like, hey man, whatever happens, this is awesome. I love it. And there's a lot of stuff going on around you that you definitely could get caught up in. I mean, there's all kind of marketing opportunities. So you got to find a way, like, how can I take advantage of it and make the money and whatever, but not get too caught up and not get too busy and whatever. I've never had a problem with that. I've always been really good about saying no to stuff I don't want to do. But I think it's one of those things that it's true. I think if you look at it as a dream come true, then yeah, you're good. You're on the right path if that was your dream. But also for me, it wasn't like ever even, and it wasn't an end point. I remember when I was drafted, it wasn't like, yes, all right, I'm certified, I made it.
Yep.
Yeah, like, it wasn't that at all. It was the beginning, for me. It was a new beginning of football. So I never felt like that's anything, like I'd arrived or anything. I was like, all right, man, I gotta go up there with all these savvy vets. Brett Favre's still on the team, and I gotta find a way to fit into this team, And so it was one of those deals for me. And it's like, I've used the comparison to people when they tell me, at least this is only my belief, but people will say, oh, my wedding day was the happiest day of my life. I was like, yeah, right, buddy. You probably have, if my wedding day was the happiest day of my life, guess what? You got a terrible marriage. My wedding day was great. I loved it. I met the girl of my dreams and married her. But guess what? Every day is better than my wedding day pretty much, because we're so much better now than we were when we were younger and first married. So like if that was the pinnacle, your wedding day, I feel sorry for you, buddy. You might want to leave her, because that sucks. So mine's like always I can't explain it the way I want really, but that's kind of how I feel about the NFL. Like you should be happy. You should take a couple moments to enjoy it if you do get drafted or you do make a team as a free agent or whatever. But then that's when the work starts, and that's when the fun starts to happen. So it's not an ending point. It was kind of like the starting point, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I know very much what you mean. I think a lot of people can look at me, and this doesn't happen as frequently now because it's not so new, but, people would look at me about what we've created here with Onnit and be like, oh, wow, how does it feel, man? How does it feel? And it's like, I don't fucking know how it feels. I'm in it right now. There's another project I have coming up. There's a new level I want to get to. I feel great, but it's just the journey of it. That's the thing. It's not that, yes, I'm a CEO of a company, I've arrived. And just like you said, it's not, yes, I'm an NFL player. It's, all right, now what do we got to do? Now we got to get out there and prove our place on the team. And then once you do that, then it's, all right, now we got to win some games. And then it's, now we got to win the Super Bowl. And now it's, we got to cement the dynasty and whatever that is. And then even when football is over, it's, okay, now we got a new challenge that comes up. And then, so not so much, having goals, but not making it so that when you attain those, you have nothing else. But just know that you're along for the ride. It's a full lifelong journey of self-improvement, betterment, and hopefully bliss if you do it all right.
Yeah, because you're right. You're in it. Like you said, how's it feel? Aubrey, you've made it. I mean, look at, you're so young and you are CEO of Onnit and you guys are killing it. But you're right. I'm sure every single day you have a million different ideas that you want to implement, and you have different people coming to you and you're trying to grow and whatever as a business and a person. So, yeah, I mean, I say all the time, when people think back, oh man, those were the good old days. I'm like, no, you're in it. These are the good old days right now. This exact moment. It didn't happen. It's the past doesn't exist. Whatever. The past is dead. So it's like, yeah, it was awesome. I'm really happy for everything that I've done before and whatever. But there's always more, and that doesn't mean you're not happy. It's almost like it gives you more happiness, I think, because you have something to work towards. Because where do you go? People, I don't know, like if certain people feel like they've made it and they've arrived, I feel bad for them because, like, okay, then what are you going to do now? What are you going to live for,
Yep. I hear you, brother. I hear you. Well, man, if you've been kind of one of the longest, you were one of the first guys that reached out and found us. And I remember an email coming through when we only had a couple people in the company. It said AJ Hawk, and you were asking about some product, or maybe it was just you placing an order. I don't know how it came to my attention, but I reached out to you. Yeah. And this was super early on. So you've had a chance to be with us through this whole product development, this whole line. If you had to pick, a couple of the old school products and a couple of the new school products that if you had to, go somewhere completely cut off from the mother source, which you never will be because you're on it family.
Better not. This is recorded, right? Is someone recording this?
Yeah. So if you had to, go out and take a couple of the old products, a couple of the new products, what would you bring with you, AJ?
Well, you're right. You talk about finding the company organically. I mean, I heard you on Joe Rogan Experience. Obviously, I mean, anyone that knows me knows I'm a podcast enthusiast. I love podcasts. And I really only listen to like comedian ones and you and Daniel Bellelli. But Daniele, however I love that guy. But I've got the email with him, man. What a good dude. But
yep.
So I found you, sent you an email checking on some product, and I was asking about Alpha Brain actually. And the thing I was asking was, I remember, I was like, is this stuff sounds amazing. It's got to be illegal, right? For me as an athlete, I'm sure we get tested and you can't take it. And you were nice enough to reach out to me and say, trust me, yes, it's fine. And I sent it all in through the league and I've done everything. It's all cleared. But I would say from the jump, yeah, I got into the company. I wanted to learn about you guys because of Alpha Brain, and that's what I continue to take every day. But also, man, Shroom Tech Sport, those were like your two bell cows, I feel like, from the jump, from the beginning. Those two are, I would say, should be your baseline, or they're my baseline for what I take from you guys. And then if you ask, if you check some of my emails, like I admit just now, I emailed Jennifer yesterday. The bad thing about me is I sent an email like, hey, just trying to get some new, is there any way I can get some more product? Can I just get some more? And I list like 9 things. I list like everything you guys have. And so it's hard for me, man, because I would say consistently Alpha Brain, Shroom Tech Sport, definitely, because I like to work out almost every day. So I'm taking Shroom Tech Sport and Alpha Brain. You can pretty much take every day. I know you got to tell me legally, you don't want to get sued, so people got to cycle off of it and you try to tell me to not take as much, but I don't care. I'm not listening to you. But I figure I experiment on myself, Aubrey, with Alpha Brain. You don't know my dosage.
I don't even want to know. Just keep that to yourself. And we definitely don't want to release that on the podcast.
But yeah, and then other than that, I mean, everything, the spirulina and chlorella, however you say it, the T plus for sure is legit. Got my dad on some of that. He's like 57, 58. I'm trying to get my dad. He is always working out, but he always says, I work out more than any out of shape guy in the country. So we're trying to get my dad all juiced up.
Nice.
And I mean, I don't drink a whole lot of shakes, but the Hemp Force protein is legit for sure. And I'm not a shake guy, believe me. I don't consistently drink them every day, but when I do, I definitely use the Hemp Force. And it's like anything. I don't want to ever sound like I'm just like, a shill for some products or for a company, because it's true. I reached out to you guys. You didn't come to me. Like, I was a little turd kid sending you an email saying, oh, hey, man, can I get a free bottle of Alpha Brain? So it's like, I can't, whether people believe it or not, it's the truth. That was like in 2010, maybe?
Yeah, it was like right in the 2011, but it was really early on. It took 2 months, 2 months after the launch of Alpha Brain.
It's like, and it's ridiculous because now, what's the coolest thing about you guys? It's like, if you think something's cool or you think it works, you guys you carry it, and either you make your own formula or you sell it, like BlendTech blenders and battle ropes and all this stuff now. It's ridiculous. And then you're the Primal Bells. Wow. I know it's not a word I don't know if you want me to talk about supplements, but the Primal Bells, you got to be kidding me. Those are amazing. That's like what you would hope a big company like yourself, like, oh man, those are really cool. But those guys would never do that. And guess what? Aubrey says, all right, let's do it, man. And you keep coming out with them. So it's like, I think people see that and they love that. And I think with how fitness is going and how people are, there's a reason you guys are growing so fast, because you are open to that. I think you listen to people, and when you think something's cool, everyone else usually does, and they feel your passion for it. It's like, well, yeah, of course. I got the 36-pound chimp. I need the 72-pound orangutan, whatever you guys, And so it's awesome, man. I throw those things around the yard. So the whole company like that is cool. And I think you guys have kind of set the base for treating people fairly and respectful and being completely open and transparent. And it's been so successful. And that's your, like, kind of your tagline early on, that you guys are going to be honest with everybody. You're not out to screw anybody. Mm-hmm. And I think how the world's going, I think that's where people are seeing that's the way to be successful. It's not the other way, where I'm going to take this from everybody and I'm going to screw everybody, because it does end up screwing you. So I think you guys are one of the pioneers of doing that, and you're living proof.
Well, thank you for all those kind words, my brother. And you're going to be stoked when you see what we have coming up in the new kettlebell line. I got a couple. I forgot that you didn't have any. I was about to go bring them over and show you, but you can't even see us right now. But we got a whole new line coming out to replace the zombies for this season. And then we got some killer stuff coming out too. But I definitely appreciate what you're saying, and you're right. I mean, I think I'm giving some talks about, from these entrepreneurial talks about the keys to success and growing this business. And I think one of the keys has been just being straight up with our customers, being honest. I mean, there's so many people out there are at least trying to put too much spin on the cue ball when they're trying to sell something, so that there's always going to be that little bit of disappointment, that little bit of fuckery that comes in. Where it's like, and we even had to check that in ourselves in the early days, just because you're so programmed for it. It's like, oh, this is how you sell something. You really describe it and exaggerate it a little bit, and that's what people are going to like. And Rogan was great in that, and be like, no, just fucking tell it like it is. And then if people like it, great. If they don't, we'll give them their money back. And we've just kind of kept that whole mentality, and it's worked out great. And I think with the way that information is spreading now, people aren't going to be able to get away with that old school paradigm of selling a bunch of bullshit and making up a bunch of lies or exaggerations. And so hopefully, the world kind of wakes up and we get a much more fair system where you make good stuff, and if it's useful to people, they get it, and if it's not, they don't. and then there you go. That's the end of the fucking story.
Yeah, it's really it's crazy to see though how you guys have grown. Now that I think about it, because you move so fast, it's like all of a sudden you'll text me like a picture. I remember I saw you text me a long time ago about like one of the first Primal Bells, where I'm like, oh sweet man, yeah, that'd be cool. I'm like, that's never gonna happen. And like a month later, it's on the website. I'm like, this guy's unbelievable. And it's like, I think people see that and they respect that and they like it, because yeah, you are the CEO, but you're not some buttoned up CEO douchebag, and it's that's kind of how everything is. This new generation of kids and people are you're like you said, everything's very transparent. Look at this stupid stuff these young girls post online. Are you kidding me? So they don't care. They want you to be transparent too, not with what you're posting, Aubrey, but out on your personal Instagram or whatever. But
Not
they
my
went
transparent boxer shorts. Nobody wants to see that.
I think but yeah, I mean, I think it almost like if your business is transparent and it's honest, then yeah, I think they will say, even if someone is like, hesitant at first, they'll eventually see that and they'll be like, you know what, these people are going to do right by me and they're going to try to do the right thing. And it eventually pays off. And that's what's cool. There's a book called Give and Take, a guy named Adam Grant wrote. I'm about to talk to him. Actually, my own podcast I'm doing. I'm not trying to pub that thing, Aubrey. Sorry.
Well, you should pub that thing, man. It's about that time. It's about that time for you to start pubbing some shit.
Yet, but it's going to, and you're going to be a guest. So sorry about putting you on the spot.
I'm in.
But yeah, a guy named Adam Grant. It's called Give and Take. He's an entrepreneur. He's the youngest tenured professor ever at Wharton. He's just a super smart dude. I'm talking to him next week, and that's his thing. He says there's givers, matchers, and takers, like when it comes to business and everything. And he goes through tons and tons of studies and shows you like givers are the ones that eventually that it works out better for them than the old school takers, like paradigm of people that want to steal it from saying, well, if I'm not going to look out for myself, nobody else will. So I got to be that's me. I don't care. I'm going to run over anybody in my path. And he wrote a great book basically saying, no, that's not the way anymore, man. It's different. And so it's cool to see that happening. And you guys are like a perfect. He should have used your company in the book. Maybe I'll tell him that.
Yeah, revised edition.
Revised. This is Give and Take Part 2.
Yeah.
With a picture of you on the front in the jungle with Chief Winking Lizard.
Now it's a winking
Chief Winking Lizard. I'll let him know. I'll let him know that you said that.
Tell old boy out in the jungle. Does he have internet? Tell him. Well, yeah, he has internet.
Yeah, he's got internet. AJ, my man, it has been a pleasure and an honor not only to have you on this podcast, but to call you friend and be in alliance with you in this whole crazy journey we've been on. We got to hang again soon. I didn't get to catch a game last year, but this year for sure, we're going to make it happen.
Come on down, man. Yeah, thanks a lot. Really appreciate you having me on. This hour went very fast, so
Indeed.
You're good at what you do, Aubrey. So thanks a lot, man. Love
Onnit.
Love you guys are the best, man. Every single person that works there, if they're watching this, you guys are the best. Over emails, I'm sorry for when I email you huge list of tons of supplements. Guess what? They are for myself, actually. I'm not giving them away because I'm an idiot.
We have no doubts, brother. We have no doubts. All right, much love, my friend. We'll catch up again soon.
All right, thank you.
All right, later.